Hello, everybody. Alrighty then. So, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Wednesday, September the 11th, um, 2024. So, of course, we're the 23rd anniversary of the infamous attack on the towers, the Twin Towers. Um, but aside from that, we got quite a bit of other things going on. First off, let me just get a nice, couple acknowledgments here. So Shadowhawk came in. Hail Mike in the chat. Just dropped by to like and say hello before bedtime. Well, thank you for that, my friend. Have a good rest. Um, and thank you for dropping in. And then, of course, I just completely reply thanks to Shadowhawk. So, anyway, so Rick's not here yet. Um, if he does end up showing up, he's gonna probably be a little late. He messaged me earlier. He just got off work, so if he does end up coming, it'll be a little later. And hopefully, anyways, a friendly reminder of we're gonna give it a few minutes to give people a chance to show up, but friendly reminder, if you haven't already, of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, like I said, we're just gonna give it a few minutes to give people a chance to show up. So hopefully everybody's having this is also Wednesday, so that means it's hump day. So we're in the middle of the week getting over the hump. So hopefully everybody is ready for the latter part of the I'm sure everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Now here in Southern California where I'm at, we're starting to have a nice little cooling trend after being being quite hot and heavy as it were. Um, So hopefully, for those in California here, Southern California, um, get to enjoy the cooler weather. With that, said just giving people a chance to come in. Also, and again, as I said, another friendly reminder: if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer questions to the best of my ability. So, so we're actually now coming up on 5 minutes here, so I might as well talk a little bit about what's on tap for today. So tonight it's going to be kind of a very interesting night, second night in a row where we're not going to be specifically going over articles, as it were, as it just seemed like maybe we are in a bit of a slow period here. I think with more of the emphasis, of course, on last night's presidential debate, that's pretty much very hot and heavy in the news cycle overall. Of course, that doesn't usually apply as much to, of course, niche news. In terms of anime, cartoons, comics, manga, or wrestling. But tonight, what we are going to do is, since there's not a whole lot going on newsworthy wise, we're gonna take a look back on the career of voice actress Mae Quetzal. For those of you who may not remember Mae Quetzal or may not recognize the name, Mae Quetzal was the voice actress who was employed by Fleischer and eventually Famous Studios. She provided, of course, is one of the actresses who, of course, provided the voices of Betty Boop and Olive Oil, along with, of course, Bonnie Poe and Margie Hines at different variations. Mae Quetzal also, as she became the Olive's voice permanently in 1942, and throughout the 50s and 60s. She also, aside from that, of course, did some of the other famous Studios characters, including like Little Audrey, among others. So we're going to be taking a look back at her career, her life and career a little bit tonight. Talk a little bit about her. And also, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up a little later on, talk about what happened on last night's NXT, as well as and maybe even the NWA as well, NWA Power, and then we will also be I'm trying to think here. We'll be looking back to we'll have the wrestling wrap up, and then we'll be doing looking back on this day in each history. So with all that being said, and as always, if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history. So let me just all right. There we go. That's what we're looking for right there. Alrighty then. So here we go. Here we go with what we're going to talk about tonight here. Mae Quetzal, born Mae Quetzal, obviously a slightly different spelling there. Born Mae Quetzal, September 13, 1908, in the Bronx, New York City, USA. Passed away January 4th, 1998, the age of 89, in Manhattan, New York City. She graduated from Columbia University. Vaudevillian, actress, artist, impersonator, singer. Of course, known for being the voices, as I said earlier, Betty Boop, Olive Oil, and Little Audrey. So, all right, so let's take a look. So Mae Quetzal was an American actress. She was best known for providing the voices for the animated characters Betty Boop from 1931, Olive Oil from 1933, and numerous others. Quetzal began her career in vaudeville. And yeah, I know I said she continued to voice Olive Oil, but she also started out as it. But we'll get into that. As we get into the to the end of the article here. Let's see now. Quetzal began her career in vaudeville, primarily working as an impressionist. She later performed on Broadway and in films and television, including her role as Aunt Bethany in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Wow, 1989. Wow, so that was one of her live action roles. Early career in Betty Boop. Born Mae Quetzal, spelled Kwestel, opposed to Questel, in the Bronx, New York City, to Simon and Frida Globman. Quetzal, she attended Morris High School and studied acting at the American Theater Wing and with the Theater Guild. Although she wanted to be an entertainer, her parents, who were Orthodox Jews, actively discouraged her from doing so, at one point forcing her to leave the Theater Guild School. Nevertheless, at the age of 17, Quetzal won a talent contest held at the RKO Fordham Theater in the Bronx for imitating actress and singer Helen Kane. She was signed by an agent and began performing in vaudeville as an impersonator, billed as Mae Quetzal, Questl, personality singer of personality songs. She did impressions of Fanny Brice, Marlene Dietrich, Eddie Cantor. Wow, Eddie Cantor. That'd be something, Now, usually women don't do. The only time you usually hear a woman doing a man's voice or male character's voice is usually for prepubescent characters. I mean, we've seen a number of voice actresses who, basically made their careers out of this, like Mona Marshall, Brienne Siddall, among others. So, I mean, you could even argue that Grace Stafford, who voiced Woody, also did it in a way because Woody was a male voice. But anyways, Mae West, Maurice Chevalier, and others, as well as doing animal imitations. She was seen by animator Max Fleischer of Fleischer Studios, of course, who was looking for an actress to provide the voice of his Betty Boop character. Quetzal's boop boop ba-doop routine, done in a style similar to the version of Helen Kane created, where at the same time evoking something of the naughty allure of film star Clara Bow, was exactly what Fleischer wanted. Now, for those of you, if you've ever seen, I'm sure everybody here has seen some of the Betty Boop cartoons, the ones prior to, let's say, 1934, prior to the implementation of Hays Code, were a little bit more mature and risque as compared to the later ones. Obviously, they were meant for adults. Now, granted, back in the 30s and 40s, this was the time when you'd see, nobody had their own televisions yet. People would be seeing cartoons in movie theaters as part of the pre-show, as it were, before the main feature. So, anyways, and he hired Quetzal in 1931. She began as one of a number of actresses providing the character's voice, but soon took over the role too. So among the other actresses, of course, who did it included, as we talked about, Bonnie Poe and Margie Hines. Margie Hines would actually take on the roles of Betty Boop and Olive Oyl when Fleischer Studios moved down to Florida in 1938. And she decided to stay in New York to, kind of try to raise a family. So, anyways, now move. So, from 1931 until 1938, Quetzal provided the voice of Betty Boop in more than 80 animated shorts, the longest run for any actress doing that voice. During the 1930s, she released a recording of On the Good Ship Lollipop. And we've heard that song. Everybody's heard that song. On the Good Ship Lollipop. Right? Let's see. Alright, so. Alright. Which sold more than 2 million copies. In 1988, she reprised her role as Betty Boop in a cameo appearance in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was Quetzal's most extensive work for Disney. She had provided brief additional voices for some of Disney's earlier films, along with her voice work and occasional on-camera appearances in Paramount shorts. Quetzal also attended Columbia University, where she studied drama. Yeah, Quetzal was part of the Paramount, stable of voice actors and actresses, along with her Popeye co-stars Jackson Beck and Jack Mercer. We'll get to that in a moment here. Let's see. All right. Voice of olive oil. Beginning in 1933, Quetzal provided the voice for olive oil in the Max Fleischer Popeye cartoons. She made her debut with I Eats Me Spinach and essentially became the permanent voice until her hiatus to start a family in 1938. She reportedly based Olive's nasal voice quality and expression, quote unquote, oh dear, on the character actress Zasu Pitts. When Hanna-Barbera began making the all-new Popeye cartoons for television in 1978, Quetzal auditioned for the role of Olive Oil, but lost out to Marilyn Schaefer, the late, great Marilyn Schaefer, who, of course, would go on to voice a few other notable characters, including Snively in the Hanna-Barbera animated film Yogi's First Christmas. I believe she also voiced a girl in Heathcliff, I believe. So, anyways, voice of Betty Boop. Starting in 1938, Margie Hines, who was the original voice of Betty Boop, replaced Mae Quetzal when production made transition from New York to the Miami studio. Margie Hines from 1938 to 1942 had taken over more or less the roles that that Quetzal had been doing. Quetzal returned as the voice of Olive Oil in 1944 after the studio reorganized as famous studios. Paramount Pictures, Paramount Pictures, and had returned to New York, a role in which she would remain until 1962. She also filled in for Jack Mercer as the voice of Popeye for a small number of cartoons made when Mercer was temporarily drawn into war service alongside Floyd Buckley and Harry Foster Welsh. Yeah. Again, another example of a woman taking on the role of man's voice. And Popeye's voice, it's a little bit easier, I think, than most men's voices. Not that he sounds like a kid or anything like that, but just the nature of his voice. Rich. Hey, Rick.
Hey.
Sorry I didn't catch you right away there, but I don't know how much. Hey, Kyle. I don't know how much you caught of what I'm doing here tonight.
You were just,
huh?
Although I wasn't paying much attention, you were just going on to the voice of Betty Boop or something to that.
Yeah.
Board.
Well, I was going over tonight since I couldn't find really any news articles to really go over. I decided to look back on the life and career of Mae Quetzal, who, of course, was longtime voices of Betty Boop, Olive Oil, and Little Audrey, among many others. And we're just going to do all that right now here. So let me get these other two. See what's going on here. Mike, you remember Five Nights at Freddy's, similar animatronics in 1983. Chuck E. Cheese's 1983, California. Well, I think they still have them. There is a Chuck E. Cheese where I live here, and I still have those.
Yeah, well, I have you watched the show Five Nights at Freddy?
Oh no, I've never watched it. I didn't even. I thought.
I haven't watched it either myself, but yeah, I believe that's what he's referring to for the animatronics in it that seems so similar to Chuck E. Cheese's animatronics from 1983, but it is supposed to be. I'm not sure when it's supposed to be set, the cartoon or the show or whatever.
Yeah. So, anyways, getting back to the article here. Um, all right. So other voice. So now we're going to look at some of the other voices that Mae Quetzal did. In addition to her signature voices of Olive Oyl and Betty Boop, Quetzal also provided the voice of Little Audrey. In 1958, she voiced Wendy the Good Little Witch in the theatrical Casper cartoon short Which is Which. In the 1950s, she was the voice of the title character of the pioneering interactive Saturday morning cartoon series Winky, Dinky, and You. She provided the voice of Casper the Friendly Ghost in Golden Records' Casper the Friendly Ghost and Little Audrey Says in 1962. So those were, of course, the theme songs for those two shorts. Again, as I was mentioning earlier, of course, Mae Quetzal was one of the voice actresses who was a regular with Fleischer and later Famous Studios. Like a lot of the Paramount distributed shorts that the Popeye shorts, the Novel Tune and later Harvey Tune shorts. You could hear the three people I mentioned already: Jackson Beck, Jack Mercer, and Mae Quetzal, along with some others, including Cecil Roy, Sid Raymond, Arnold Stang, among others. So, in the Flintstones series, she voiced characters from the spin-offs, The Pebbles and Bam Bam Show, the Flintstones Comedy Hour, and the Flintstone Frolics. She voiced Wiggy Rockstone after the original voice actress Gay Otterson left the role in 1982. She continued to provide the voices of Betty Boop and Olive Oyl in commercials, television specials, and elsewhere for the rest of her life. In 1988, she reprised her role as Betty Boop in the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now,
cool.
So that's Mae Quetzal right there.
She looks a bit like Betty Boop, or Betty Boop looks a bit like her.
Yeah, this is Quetzal in 1930, so just before she took on the role of Betty Boop. Originally, her name was spelled Kwestel, but I guess they changed it to QU instead. She was basically born from an Orthodox Jewish family. So, anyways,
they might have purposely made the character look like her too.
I don't know. And I think even though I don't think she was, even though she became the main voice of Betty, I don't know if she was the first. She might have been, but I think the drawing came before. Because okay, so let me go back up to this right here, just so let me see where I can. She was seen by animator Max Fleischer, who was looking for an actress to provide the voice for his Betty Boop character. So they had already drawn the Betty Boop character basically.
Well, he had conceived of it. It doesn't say he actually drew it at that point, but
Quetzal's boop 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 routine done in the style similar to a version Helen Kane created, where at the same time evoking something of a naughty allure of film star Clara Bow, was exactly what Fleischer wanted, and he hired Quetzal in 1931. She began as one of a number of actresses providing the character's voice soon took over the role exclusively. So, anyway, in 1935, Mae Quetzel played the voice of the woman in the shoe in the Max Fleischer cartoon "The Kids in the Shoe," which I believe would have been a Fleischer color classic, which of course was probably Paramount's version of like Columbia's Color Rhapsodies or Warner Brothers like Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies, Happy Harmonies from.
Yeah, well, it looks like the woman shoe. I think it's an old nursery rhyme. The old woman who lived in the shoe had so many children, she didn't know what to do.
Mm. So her on-camera roles. So Mae Quetzel played a number of small parts, including appearing with Rudy Valley as Betty Boop in the 1931 short musical Justice, and as a nurse in the musical Doctor in 1932.
You gotta love that she actually played Betty Boop. So that tells you they even think she looked a bit like her.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that you're trying to say that they specifically drew Betty Boop to resemble her. I don't think that was. I think they'd already drawn. I think what probably ended up happening is just one of those things where they probably had already drawn Betty Boop, and Mae Quetzel just happened to be. It was just one of those chance encounters.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Nobody alive to ask, at least not, or nobody that we know of.
Yeah. So, let's see. Let's see anything. No, nothing new there. Okay. Quetzel. Okay, yeah, we already read that part. In 1962, she played a Jewish mother in an episode of the crime drama Naked City. In 1960, now Naked City, I've never watched the show, but I know a little bit about it. I think it's kind of a crime noir show, basically. Well, they said crime.
Yeah.
I think I don't know where it's based, but in 1961, she was seen as a middle-aged bride in Jerry Lewis's "It's Only Money," one of Fanny Brice's mother's card-playing friends at the start of the film Funny Girl in 1968, and as the quote-unquote Jewish mama from hell in New York Stories in 1989, in Woody Allen's segment titled Oedipus Rex. She had earlier sung the song Chameleon Days on the soundtrack for Allen's film Zelig in 1983. Her last non-voice appearance was as the elderly Aunt Bethany in 1989's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. In 1973, Quetzel had a role in the short-lived ABC television sitcom The Corner Bar, but she achieved perhaps her greatest visibility in the television commercials, notably playing Aunt Bluebell in ads for Scott Towels from 1971 to 1979, and appeared in spots for Playtex, Folgers Coffee, and others. She also appeared on panel shows and daytime soap operas. All right. So, and then her Broadway credits here: Quetzel appeared on Broadway 4 times. Dr. Social in 1948 with Dean Jager. Leonard Spiegelgas's A Majority of One. And her laughing. Let's see. Personal life. Quetzel married Leo Balkin on December 22nd, 1930, and they were divorced prior to 1950. She married Jackie Shelby on November 19th, 1970. They remarried. They remained married until his death. She had 2 sons, Robert Balkin and Richard Balkin. Politics: Quetzel was a Democrat who supported Adlai Stevenson's campaign during 1952. Now, mind you, just a reminder to everybody, the Democrats during that period are not the same ones that we see today. They were
they're not as bad, but they
had a lot. They had a lot of the same ideologies, but they weren't
as nasty.
Yeah, they weren't as nasty about it, and they weren't as pushy about it. Basically, they, in other words, they're kind of what RFK Jr. If you guys have been seeing, him and why he left, they would have been more like what RFK Jr. and Alan Dershowitz are as Democrats. And then she passed away on January 4th of 1998. Complications related to Alzheimer's disease at the age of 89 in her Manhattan apartment. She was buried in New Montefiore Cemetery in West Babylon. And then her select filmography here. Again, number of the shorts that she was in as Betty Boop. She was actually Betty Boop. Snow White. She was Olive Oil. All these titles here.
And a lot, unfortunately, says uncredited, which is just wrong.
Well, that's the thing. Back in those days, most voice actors, like a lot of these shorts that you see here, the actors and actresses were always uncredited for these shorts. I actually believe that you don't actually start seeing anybody actually get credited for these shorts until Mel Blanc signed the exclusivity contract with Warner Brothers when he signed, in I think it was 41 or 42. That was when they first actually started, at least with him, crediting him, but I think in the golden age of film and television, a lot of these actors and actresses did not get credited. So
true.
It was more of a common practice then. So that's basically, that's Rick, I'm sure you've seen your fair share of Betty Boop and Popeye shorts, right? Fly shirt. I'm sure.
Yeah, I've seen some Popeye shorts and some Betty Boop shorts. So,
and obviously a number of different, famous studio shorts, from the 30s to the 50s. I'm sure you've watched some stuff from like the Harvey Tunes collection with Casper the Friendly Ghost and all that. And of course, Mae Quetzal would, of course, do additional voices too in some of the other productions there, in which, when they needed to have her come in to do, voices,
yeah.
Primarily, probably her three most well known, of course, are Betty Boop, Olive Oil, and Little Audrey. So, do you have any particular fond memories of any shorts that you remember her based on? They'd be shorts from between 1931, 1938, and 19.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I've seen Betty Boop a few places here, there, everywhere. I haven't. I don't think I've watched a full Betty Boop cartoon myself. Now, Popeye, I've probably seen her as Olive Oil or heard her as Olive Oil, would probably be more accurate.
Yeah.
Several times, and I've probably seen a fair amount of Popeye cartoons, especially I'd say fairly older ones. But none of the Popeye cartoons really stick out to me. So,
the Popeye cartoon. So it started with Fleischer with the black and white, and then of course Famous took over in I think it was 42, 43 around there. They took over and then of course, and May even continued the voice of Olive Oil when King Feature started doing the Popeye cartoons for television. I think Famous Studios had stopped doing the Popeye shorts, I think in 57 or 58. And then like about 2 years later, that's when King Feature Syndicate started, producing, Popeye cartoons among others.
Yeah.
Actually, King Feature Syndicate would start producing cartoons for a number of their characters, including, like Beetle Bailey, Cool McCool, and all that. So, oh yeah, so we're at 34 minutes here. Yeah, so Rick, how'd your day go today?
Pretty good. Well, got up about 7:30. Did some stuff on the computer. Got ready to go into work. I had to go in there for noon today, so that was leaving here at about 10:40. And I didn't get off till 8:30 tonight. Although I got an hour break at 3 o'clock. So.
Huh. Huh.
But the day went pretty good. The work went pretty good. So I'm a little exhausted, of course.
Well, thank you for coming on. Anyways, I knew, like, the way you said it, I wasn't sure if you were even going to be on tonight. So
Yeah, when I said it, when I was writing it, I wasn't. But I got to the bus as I was getting to the lights to cross. I saw the bus down the way, and as I got there, the bus was basically pulled up. So the bus into Hamilton was there, like.
So you
right
didn't
away.
basically you didn't have to sit around waiting for the bus. Then you were able to get right on the bus and get home quicker than you initially thought.
Yeah, and then it got into Hamilton real quick. It was into Hamilton by 9 o'clock. It was like, wow! It was like it just moved crazy fast. And I got off where I knew I could catch a bus in a couple minutes. It was more than a couple minutes, but I knew a bus that left downtown right away to go where I was coming. So I did that, got on, and I was home by like 10 after 9.
So you were pretty much ready to go almost. Yeah. Well, before I started the show, actually Shadowhawk popped in to basically drop a like and drop a like.
Yeah, I saw that in the chat here.
Yeah, so that was good.
But
yeah, so let's see.
yeah, so like again, I can't promise anything when I'm on, but I will do my best to get on. So
yeah, I know. I mean, I'll keep sending you the links.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I mean, I think you'd even have trouble doing your own show. Well, your own show is a little later, so at least from that, unless they have you working a little later than that. So
yeah, well, I could probably. It's possible that like I could not get out of there till 10 too. So then my show is especially for Tuesday, but tomorrow I don't have to go until 5. So
yeah.
So it's not going to be quite as long shift, but Saturday and Sunday probably will be.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get you back on Sunday, and hopefully you won't get scheduled for next Friday night because you're next.
Yeah.
I got you on next on that time. Oh, actually, that does remind me too. So with this new job, does that mean then that there might be some, if they do schedule you on some of the nights that you, well, first off, now that we're getting into fall and getting into cooler weather, probably up there, is that thing you go to every second Friday of the month, that's still going to be going on, or?
Oh yeah, that still goes on for sure. But then again, even with my job, I might not be able to go to it. So it. If I'm off on a Friday, fine. If I'm not, fine. But then again, I'm probably going to want to go for October but November, December, January, February, I probably would go down anyways because it is freezing. And I'm not
Well,
going
as
to
I mentioned, here in Southern California, we've been having a heat wave recently, but now for the next week here, we're going to be cooling down quite a bit, and then it'll be in the 80s,
and
following week. So
they don't, you know, they don't during the colder months. They don't close the street down, so it doesn't get quite as busy either. So
yeah,
it becomes a question of is it worth it or not.
right. Let's see. So, all right. So,
Time for wrestling wrap up.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was trying to see if we're at like 41 minutes. I was just trying to see if there's anything I could do to at least get put at least something to talk about. Here's something. So um and I think I've told you some of the characters, including Harvey comic based characters. Um, well, okay, so May Quetzal. Okay, so some of the voices she's done include, as we said, Olive Oil, Betty Boop, Little Audrey, and Wendy the Good Little Witch. If you had to pick one of those, Rick, who would you say was probably your favorite of those characters?
Who are they again? Wendy.
Okay, Betty Boop, Olive Oil, Little Audrey, and Wendy the Good Little Witch. Those are 4 characters that May Quetzal did for Fleischer / Famous Studios Paramount Pictures. Of those, if you had to choose, which of those 4 characters would you say was probably your favorite?
Well, as I said earlier, I had never really seen much Betty Boop, so I don't know. Yeah, I've seen little clips, of course, here and there, but I haven't really seen anything of Betty Boop, so I don't know really much about Betty Boop. Again, although I watched a lot of Harvey cartoons, I don't remember a lot of Little Audrey. So again, probably out of the running. The next one that I would probably remember the most after Olive Oil, of course, is Wendy. But even that, I don't think I've seen as much as I've seen of Olive Oil.
Yeah, well, so, Wendy was one of Casper's little friend, was Casper's gal pal, basically.
Yeah,
Wendy and Spooky, those are.
Yeah. But all that said is just to say, probably Olive Oil would be my favorite of all those 4, but just because,
she's the one you've seen the most of the 4, basically.
Yeah, that I know the most about and all that. The other characters are decent and cool from what I remember, but I don't remember enough of them to. The one that I remember the most of the next is Wendy, and that's probably.
Yeah, I don't know if now Friendly TV is a streaming service. I don't know if you get that up there in Canada, but if you guys of course do like a lot of the older like Harvey Tunes, a lot of the older Paramount stuff, like the Harvey Tune stuff, Popeye, Betty Boop, you can catch all that stuff on MeTV Tunes, on Friendly TV, or on whatever other stations. Now here in the States, of course, we have Friendly TV, or wherever you can get MeTV Tunes from.
Is it friendlytv.com?
MeTVTunes.com, yeah.
Okay.
And then they'll actually have a part on there to where you can look up and see, just put in your zip code or whatever, or your location, and maybe that will tell you where you can get it. If you can get it up in Canada.
Oh, I thought this was. You said it was a streaming service or whatever. So.
Oh, you can get Friendly TV. Well, okay, Me TV Tunes is a channel that's on Friendly TV. Now, Friendly TV is a streaming service, much like Tubi, but you have to pay for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
but it's friendlytv.com.
Yeah.
And it's $50. Well, it's $7 a month, American.
Yeah. All right. So with that, everybody, now we are past the 45-minute mark, coming up on 47 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the wrestling wrap up now. I was able to kill a couple more minutes there. So we're going to look back to last night's WWE-NXT as on last night's NXT. The show opened up with an NXT tag team title match in which Axiom and Nathan Frazier, known as Fraxium, took on the Street Profits, only to go to a no contest when the bloodline of Jacob Fatu, Tongaloa, and Tama Tonga invaded after Nathan Frazier had basically offered their services to the original tribal chief of Roman Reigns. Julia, in her first match on NXT since signing with the WWE, defeated Chelsea Green. Charlie Dempsey defended and retained the Heritage Cup in a match against Javon Evans. A non-title match, NXT North American champion Oba Femi defeated TNA's Hammerstone. Ridge Holland defeated Duke Hudson in a one-on-one match of Chase U. Jordan Grace came and defended the Knockouts World title on NXT. Went to a no contest for Sol Ruka. And number one contenders last man standing match for the NXT title, Trick Williams defeated Pete Dunne, basically earning the next shot at Ethan Page's NXT title. So that's all that had happened on last night's NXT. Now we're gonna go back up to NWA Power on last night's Power, which aired on the CW app. Taped back in June 1st, shown last night. In a 4-way elimination match to crown a new NWA Mid-America heavyweight title, which hasn't been used in a number of years, with Jeremiah Plunkett outlasted Dante Casanova, Hunter Drake, and Mario Perdua to become the new Mid-America heavyweight champion. Carson Drake defeated Brian Idol in a singles match. At that point in time, of course, Tom Latimer had still been the national heavyweight title. He recently gave up that title to challenge for the NWA World title at this anniversary show in which he beat EC3 for it. On this show, he retained the national heavyweight title over Steve Boz, and the main event saw the team of Pretty Empowered of NWA Women's World Champion Kenzie Page and her sister Kylie defeating the It Girls, a former Pretty Empowered member Ella Envy, and the Star. Looks like I am going to have to turn on the light here, so I'm going to just, as soon as I find the cursor, there it is. So I'm going to go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back and talk to the chat for a moment while I'm gone. I'll be right back.
Chat. Is there anybody here to talk to in the chat? Say, I am here. Hold up your hand. Although I won't see it if you hold up your hand because, well, I'm not at your place. Although I guess you could put a hand up emoji in the chat in place of holding up your hand.
All right, I'm back.
Okay.
So anyways, now we're going to continue on to talk about what's on tap for tonight's Dynamite on TBS. What to look forward in the aftermath of All Out, the All Out pay-per-view. So for those who haven't watched Dynamite yet, this is what you have to look forward to on the show. Jack Perry defends the TNT title against Lio Rush. Ricochet will be taking on Sammy Guevara. In an eliminator match, in a AEW Women's World Title eliminator match, Mariah May tries to fend off the challenge of Queen Aminata. Now, for those of you, and I know I've explained this a number of times, but for those who don't know what it is, an eliminator match in AEW basically means it's pretty much a contenders match where a person challenges the champion for the right to challenge for the title. So if Queen Aminata wins tonight, she'll get a shot at Mariah May at a later date. If she loses, then she's basically eliminated from competition for contention for the foreseeable future. In a 6-man tag match, the Learning Tree of Chris Jericho with Big Bill and Brian Keith take on the Iron Savages of Boulder, Bronson, and Jack Jameson. And then in a number one contendership casino gauntlet match for a shot at the AEW World Tag Team titles, Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay team together, taking on another mystery duo to see who will get a take on the Young Bucks next for the title shot. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap up here.
Cool.
So not much more to say about that. Let's see. So now that we're done with that part, today is Wednesday, September the 11th, 2024. So let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! All right, so first off, I'm going to head back 30 years ago today. Is on this date 30 years ago today, back in 1994. The Ruby Spears and Hashi Productions co-production of the science fiction superhero animated television series Mega Man premiered in syndication on this date back in 1994. So 30 years ago today, Ruby Spears and Ruby Spears production, the co-production of Ruby Spears and Ashi of the 1994 Mega Man series. Premiered in syndication on this date back in 1994.
I like Mega Man.
Yeah. So, anyways, now moving on to the next piece of Nietzsche history here. And we move ahead to 2004, 20 years ago today. On this date, 20 years ago today, to the production IG's Windy Tales premiered on Japanese television back in 2004. It was a Japanese anime television series about a group of people who can control the wind. So on this date back in 2004, Windy Tales from Production IG premiered on Japanese television on this date back in 2004.
Yeah.
Now moving ahead to 2013, which was 11 years ago today, or I'm sorry, I was right, 11 years ago today. On this date, 11 years ago today, in 2013, the 10th issue of Clone from Image Comics went on sale on newsstands on this date 11 years ago today. It sold for $2.99, with 32 pages. So, 10th issue of Clone from Image Comics went on sale on this date 11 years ago.
And did they clone it? Comic?
Anyways. And finally, on this date 10 years ago today, in 2014, back in 2014, NXT held its Takeover Fatal 4-Way event on live episode of NXT on this date 10 years ago today from the Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. The main event of the show saw Adrian Neville retain the NXT Championship in a fatal 4-way match over Sami Zayn, Tyler Breeze, and Tyson Kidd. Adrian Neville, who is currently Pac in AEW, Sami Zayn is up on the main roster, Tyler Breeze, who is no longer in wrestling, and Tyson Kidd, who was forced to retire due to injuries, now an agent with the WWE. Also on the match saw Charlotte retain the NXT Women's Champion over Bayley, both women on the main roster now. In a hair versus hair match, Enzo Amore defeated Sylvester Lafort. And the show opened up with the Lucha Dragons of Kalisto and Sin Cara defeating the Ascension of Connor and Victor for the NXT Tag Team titles. Connor is currently wrestling for TNA as Cone, and Victor is currently wrestling for the NWA as Zion, I believe. So, and Kalisto and Sin Cara, I believe, might be wrestling as Mystico now. So, anyways, so that's all I got for you guys in terms of this day in each history. So, of course, before we do head out, Rick, I know you came late, so we didn't have a chance to give you chance to do an intro. But would you like to do an outro? Promote anything you're doing. Share links. The shit, right?
Yeah, I'm too tired to go find any links, but people can check my channel out here on YouTube. Hopefully, I'll have a video going up soon about last night, just cutting out the silhouette game part of it, and hopefully I'll have some cross channels. So I guess that's about it for me.
Cutting out the silhouette game. Are you cutting it out because that's the video you're gonna do, or are you cutting it out?
Yeah. Well, no, it's gonna stay in the live feed, but I'm gonna cut it out so I can make it just something I can put up by itself. Video.
Okay.
Because not everybody wants wade through half an hour or an hour of video to find it start.
All right. So, anything more you'd like to add before we head out?
No, that's all I need to say about. Except for just find my channel, like and share and all that.
Well, with that, everybody, I thank everybody for being here tonight. We'll be back here with more niche news tomorrow. Of course, and don't forget Friday, I'll have Apex from Apex Comics on with me as we will be looking back to March of 1940. This week we'll be looking at Silver Street Comics Volume 1, Issue 4 from Lev Gleason Publications. As we continue our look back to comics history, looking back to books that went on sale in March of 1940. And with that, I thank everybody for being here, and hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.